Marcos here for FightHubTV.com, where earlier in the week I had a chance to speak with James Toney's last boxing promoter and current boxing promoter, actually, Dan Goosen. Now, Dan went ahead and let me know that he's issuing an open challenge to Randy the Natural Couture to step in a boxing ring. So let's go ahead and hear it from the man himself, Dan Goosen. James Toney's going to fight for the UFC in, I want to say, a week's time. How do you feel about that, being Toney's boxing promoter, about him fighting?
Well, I think what it does, it goes to show you who James Toney is. He demonstrated throughout 22 years in the boxing business that he's never ever turned down a challenge. And, you know, for him to go into another completely different sport, take on who he's taking on in his first fight in that sport, just shows you the warrior he is. And why I've had so much respect for him all these years, because there was no one there that he ever told me no to when I brought up a name to fight.
When James told you that he was going to do this fight for the UFC against Randy Couture, what was your initial reaction? And did any conversation take place from that point on with Dana White?
Well, my reaction is that the Klitschko's were giving me a stiff arm to fight him. So, and without the Klitschko's, there was really no other fight there that had any significance where James could make, you know, a good portion of money. So with that hanging out there, the UFC offer, it was something that I told James, look, we know why they want you, but you know, it's a solid payday. I believe it's going to do well on pay-per-view. And, you know, he showed me the contract. I didn't like the contract, but they are what they are. And, you know, when everything's said and done, I looked at it from a friendship level for James to make some good money and hopefully come away with this victory.
We saw Ricardo Mayorga trying to enter at least MMA, and Don King stepped in, gave over $1 million cash for an injunction to stop Mayorga from fighting. And he said the reason why he did that is protecting his investment. He was scared that Mayorga would break an arm or something bad would happen and it would stop him from being able to box. Do you share a similar worry like that? I know nothing like that on your part has happened with James Toney. Why is that?
No, you know, I'm not concerned about it. Right now, I'm excited to see the fight just because it's James. He's a special man. And I just believe it's very important that no matter who tunes in, that it's not boxing versus MMA on August 28th. It can only be that if it's on both sides. So it's right now MMA against MMA. We have it boxing against MMA once it goes to the other side. Okay, we get Randy Couture in the ring with James Toney. Then at that point, if Randy won the first one in MMA and won the second one in boxing, hats off to the MMA guys, okay? But if he doesn't, they're two different sports, as I've always said.
How do you think he's going to fare next weekend against Randy Couture?
Look, I would never underestimate James Toney. That's why in the boxing business, the Klitschko's never ever wanted any part of him. Okay, you see who they've been fighting. If they thought James Toney didn't have anything left, that would have been a great name to have over in Germany to fill up a 100,000-seat arena. Okay, but they always stayed away. Why? Because they realized James Toney is a warrior, and you can never ever think that it's going to be an easy night. Now it's a whole different sport, and you know, but disregarding that, what did James do? He said, "Hey, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." Okay, and he's counting on being able to going out there and hitting Couture with one of the shots that would definitely put him out if he connects with him. The only thing that I say is there's nothing that this will prove if James lost, because it's a whole different sport. On the other hand, I'll go on the record right now that win, lose, or draw with Randy Couture, I'll match what he's making for this fight, and let's see if he's got the same warrior makeup foundation that James Toney has to be able to cross over to the boxing business, and in the next immediate fight James Toney in a boxing ring. Okay, I will guarantee him the same amount of money he's making for this fight in his sport, and to bring him over and let him fight James Toney in a boxing ring. I got a lot of respect for Randy. By no means is it disrespect, but what James Toney is doing is what I believe that very few fighters in either sport would be willing to do. We'll find out after August 28th. Win or lose, Randy Couture, I will match what you're getting for this fight. You come over and you do what James Toney has done, okay? And that is take up the challenge in your sport. Now I say you come out and take up the challenge in James's sport. Then, once that happens, we can all sit back there and say that both sports have some real warriors. But right now, I only see James Toney doing it.
Has there been any conversations between yourself and the UFC in being able to have that match put together?
You've got the scoop on it right now. You know, many years ago I spoke to Lorenzo. I wanted to do James Toney against Tito Ortiz. This was about 7 years ago, maybe 8. And you know, at the time Lorenzo kind of passed on it. I wanted to tweak the rules to kind of make it a little bit more even. But since James was willing to go to their sport, play by their rules, I say, fine, not a problem. Now let's come to our sport and play by our rules, okay? That's what the great warriors do. That's what James Toney's doing. I still don't discount James. I never, ever would ever, he'd never surprised me by coming out with the victory.
Well, thank you, Dan. We certainly can't wait for that fight. Any last thoughts?
Hey, all I say is what I said before earlier. Very, very, very few, one person has been willing to walk on the wild side, James Toney. He's been willing to go over there, completely different sport. It would be like a lacrosse player all of a sudden playing Major League Baseball. It'd be tough for him to do it, no matter how many times he hits a ball in lacrosse. Well, all I say is Randy Couture, walk on the wild side, win, lose, or draw against James Toney August 28th. Come on in, put the 10-ounce gloves on, and let's play by boxers' rules where James Toney has been a legend.